Well, hello again, YouTube. This is Botmaster5 coming at you with another deck. This week, we're going to take a step away from the standard scene and hop over to probably one of the funnest formats that there is in Magic to play, which is EDH. This week, I'm going to show you my Tribal EDH, basically black-red goblins. If you want to see my previous EDH deck, which was Zur the Enchanter, or as I call him, Zur the Broken, just go ahead and click Zur right there. Okay, I built this deck probably 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, and been slowly tweaking on it and adding to it. And this incarnation, up to and including M12, is probably the tightest EDH deck, Goblin deck that you can make. The reason why I originally built this deck is because when it comes to playing, I'm a little spiky, which means I like to win. So that's why Zur was the first general that I made a deck with, but it was quickly hated out of the store. So I went and built a deck that was a little bit funner. With the EDH crew, or the group that we play with, they're not really big on infinite combos, land destruction, massive hand disruption, like saying mind twisting somebody and then forking it to 3 other people or something like that. We're more about having fun. And this Goblin deck is pretty fun. So we'll start off with the general. We have Wort, Boggart Auntie. Now, the nice thing about this deck is this deck can function with or without the general. The general being on the board is just a bonus. It's not an absolute necessary like, say, Zur, because without Zur you couldn't win. And what she does is, first of all, she's a 3/3 for 4 with Fear, so that's not bad. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you can get a goblin back from your graveyard into your hand. And there's a couple of combos excuse me. There's a couple of combos that you can use to really abuse that, but not abuse it to the fact that it's broken. So there's a general. We'll set it up there. So I got all the cards separated out. We're going to go over the creatures, then the spells, then the artifacts, and then finally the land. So we'll start with the creatures first. Okay, now we got 4 different kinds of creatures. We've got Creature Advantage, Utility, Lords, and Kill Conditions. Now, when I say by Creature Advantage, I mean like War Instigator, putting goblins into play for free, and he's got double strike, so you can do it twice. Boggart Harbinger, he's a tutor. He's a goblin tutor that puts it to the top of your library. Mogg Catcher, pay 3 mana, go get a goblin, put it in play. Matron, another goblin tutor. Goblin Lackey, again, turn 1 Lackey, or possibly even turn 1 War Instigator, is really going to accelerate you like ridiculously. Goblin Wizard, now he's an old throwback to the dark. What you can do is you can tap him to put a goblin directly into play, or you can pay red and your goblins get pro white until end of turn. Well, target goblin gets pro white until end of turn. So he's for putting the more expensive goblins just down into play. Caterwauling Boggart. This gives you creature advantage because your opponent's creatures have to 2-for-1 your goblins. Because he says as long as he's in play, when you attack with a goblin, they have to block with at least 2 creatures per goblin. Creature advantage. Squee, the never-ending goblin. They should make him into a goblin planeswalker. He needs to get a spark. He's got great recursion with Skull Clamp. So basically, for 4 mana every turn, you play Squee, 1 mana, equip Skull Clamp. He dies. Draw 2 cards. Beginning of next upkeep, return Squee to your hand. Never-ending. Mogg War Marshal makes tokens, and a Boggart Mob. Now this guy is pretty good because if you get him down and get through with like 3 or 4 goblins, he'll put a 1/1 token into play for every goblin that deals damage when he hits. So there's your creature advantage. Here's your utility. Goblin Recruiter. Basically, for 2 mana, you can stack the top of your library with goblins. You just go through, pull at every goblin that you need, shuffle your library, put them on top. Warm Pilferers. When he comes into play, return a creature card to your hand. If it's a goblin, he gains haste. Now, he may be expensive at 5 mana for 3/3, but there's lots of ways to cheat him into play, and it's just another way to recur goblins back to your hand. Goblin Sharpshooter. He effectively says there will never be 1/1s on the board. There will never exist anything with a 1 toughness. Because you tap, do a point of damage. If a creature goes to the graveyard, he untaps. He's really nice too if you're clearing the board, or if you're just killing creatures, because in response to the creature dying, you shoot your opponent and then he untaps. He's a really good combination with Basilisk Collar. I don't run it in this deck because I just don't have the room. But Cabal Slaver is the only one of the 2 non-goblins in this deck, other than the Raiders or the Mogg Catchers. He says whenever a goblin of mine hits the player, you gotta discard a card. Skirk Prospector, sack a goblin, add red. So sack your tokens if you need some mana acceleration. He's also part of the only combo that's in this deck, and I'll get to that later. Goblin Tinkerer, must have for EDH. Pay a red, tap him, start blowing up artifacts. If you can get some, if you can pump him up with some of the lords in play, you can take Tormod's Crypts. You might even get a top or 2 soul rings. He loves eating soul rings. Goblin Ruinblaster, non-basic land destruction. But even though I said earlier that we don't like playing with land destruction, like recurrable land destruction. For example, Crucible Worlds and Strip Mine. We don't like that. Goblin Chirurgeon, probably one of the better goblins in the deck. 1 red, he's an 0/2. You sack a goblin and you can generate any creature. So that's pretty nice. Duplicant, he's more in there as a utility for more general removal than anything. And then Murderous Redcap. He's basically lightning bolt on a stick. Put him down. He does 2 damage when he comes into play. Then you just sack him to an outlet. He comes back in because he's got persist, and then he'll do 1 point because he does his power and damage when he comes into play, which is really good if you've got some lords out, because if you've got a couple of lords out, he comes into play, you shoot for 5, he leaves, he comes back, shoot for 4. And here are the lords. Goblin King. This one, I call it a lord because it makes your goblins cost less. But there's Frogtosser, Warchief, Ringleader, reveal top 4 cards, Goblin Chieftain, and Mad Auntie. So just in pumps here, I mean that's only 3 +3/+3, but there are other ways in the deck to pump your goblins up as well. And then finally your kill conditions. Kiki Jiki, he's a kill con because you can basically copy any goblin that you have that's winning you the game and win more. Mogg Maniac, he's crazy. He's got real good synergy with one of the other cards that's in this stack, so I'll also set him down there. Pyromancer comes down, all your goblins get +3/+0, and usually you're going to do that on a turn you're going to win, because at the end of the turn they all destroy. So you could actually play Pyromancer, Kiki Jiki Pyromancer. Now all your goblins have +6/+0. Usually when you're swinging like that, you're winning. Of course, Goblin Piledriver, he's a beastie. Lightning Crafter. Lightning Crafter is part of the only infinite combo that's in this deck, and I'll get to that. Siege Gang makes a whole bunch of tokens, and then Skirk Fire Marshal. Now, the reason why this guy is such a beast is because you put him down, you tap your goblins, it does 10 damage to all creatures and all players. But if you've got War Marshal, if you've got a Mogg Maniac out, then you can do 20 to a player. If you've got Kiki Jiki out, you tap, make a copy of Mogg Maniac. Somebody's taking 30. And you can do that multiple times. So if you've got 10 goblins out, do it twice. So there's the creatures. Now we'll get into the spells. We got removal. So we got Aftershock, Ritual the Machine, sacrifice a creature, gain control of a non-black creature. Usually this is going to be for stealing generals. Terminate, Wrecking Ball, just another terminate. Ashes to Ashes, 5 life and 3 mana to basically exile 2 creatures from the game. Yeah, I wish I could play with more of these. And then Warren Weirding. Warren Weirding is cool because you can recur it with Wort because it is a goblin card. You can put it on top of your library because it is a goblin card with Recruiter. Now you can do it with Lackey, but you can't do it with Warren Instigator. But if you hit with Lackey, you can play this for free because it is a goblin card. Lackey says goblin creature. That's its only drawback. And we got your utility spells. Profane Command. Torrent to Souls is another way to win on a turn if you have, you know, 5 or 6 goblins in play. You bring back a goblin, all your goblins get +2/+0. Till in a turn, they all gain haste, so drop some more goblins. And if you recur like Pyromancer, then all your goblins are getting +5/+0 till end of turn. Yawgmoth's Will, I don't have to explain that. That should say Yawgmoth's Win, because when you cast it, you're usually going to win the game that turn. And then Wheel of Fortune. Every red deck in EDH has to have it. And your board wipes, we got Living Death, Decree of Pain, and Damnation for board wipes. Take care of those pesky creatures. We got your tutors, Vampiric, Demonic, Diabolic. You don't need a whole heck of a lot of tutors because once you get Recruiter in your hand, that'll pretty much set the game up for you because then you can just stack your library. And then Win More. These are all the Win More cards. Patriarch's Bidding. You know, do a board wipe like Decree of Pain or something like that. Draw a bunch of cards. Play Patriarch's Bidding. Bring all your goblins back. Play more goblins. Swing for win. Phyrexian Arena. Pay 1 life. Draw 2 cards. Grave Pact. When I lose a creature, everyone loses a creature. Drellmarsh Crusade. Shared Animosity. Now this is a card that really comes out of nowhere to win. It basically says that my creatures, when they attack, they get +1/+0 for every other creature attacking that shares a type. So if you attack with 6 goblins, they're all getting +5/+0. So, Win More. So there's your spells. Oh, our artifacts. We don't have very many. A couple of mana accelerators. A couple of equipments. Light and Shadow. Light and Shadow on her. On Boggart, Wort, Boggart Auntie. You're recurring 2 goblins. Fire and Ice. This is devastating when it hits the board. Door Destinies. You basically play it. You name goblin. Whenever you play a spell with the word goblin in it, you put a 1/1 counter on it, or you put a counter on it, and then all goblins, all named creatures get plus that. So the highest I've ever had this up to is like 19. So all my goblins were like my 1/1s were 20/20s. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how it got that high. There was somebody had basically a Haze Frog lock on the board for quite a while. Jitty, Greaves, and then we have some utility artifacts. You know, Sensei's Divine Top and Skull Clamp. You know, EDH staples, and then Oblivion Stone, which basically says I win. A selective board wipe. And then our lands. The dual lands. Fleckney Pool, Command Tower, Badlands, Blood Crypt, Tenant Peak, Sulphur Springs, Auntie's Hovel, Dragon Skull, Graven Carns, and Fetch lands. We got utility lands. Phyrexian Tower, sack for 2 black. High market, sack a creature for a life. Goblin Burrows, target goblin gets +2/+0. This is usually only buffing War and Instigator when he swings. Bojuka Bog, EDH staple. Spinerock Knoll, the card that you put under here is usually coming out the turn after. Walrus Stronghold, more creature recursion. Hall the Bandit Lord, if you don't have something in play that gives your goblins haste and you want something to swing. So there's Hall the Bandit Lord. And then Dust Bowl. Now, just the EDH group that we play with, we agreed no strip mines. Wasteland's okay. Tech Edge is okay, and this card is okay as far as your land-based land destruction goes, because they can only destroy non-basics. And then your basic lands. You got your 2 cycle lands, and then Urgborg, and then a whole bunch of basic lands. So that's the deck. It's got a pretty high win percentage. The only time I really find myself losing with this deck is if somebody gets Elish Norn on the board. That's pretty spiteful when someone does that. So let me go ahead and show you the infinite damage combo that's in this deck, and it's not really that hard to pull off. So you basically need these 3 cards, and then any goblin. It could be anyone. So I don't know, this one. If you have these 3 cards out on the board, and then any goblin, you win. Because what you'll do is you'll cast Lightning Crafter on a goblin. You'll tap Kiki Jiki, make a copy of Lightning Crafter. Lightning Crafter comes in, champions Kiki Jiki. The Lightning Crafter has the ability to tap to do 3 points of damage, and because it's a Kiki Jiki token, it has haste. So you tap it, you do 3 points of damage to somebody, you sacrifice it to Skirk Prospector, Kiki Jiki comes back into play, untapped. Rinse and repeat. It's an infinite damage combo. And this is something that you can easily pull off because it only requires 3 cards. So if you've got the mana to be able to cast this down, you can set this up really easily with Goblin Recruiter, because you'll cast Goblin Recruiter, you'll put these 3 on top of the library, and then on top of these you'll put Goblin Ringleader, the one that says when it comes into play, reveal the top 4 cards, put all the goblins into your hand. So you can just do that. Well, that's my EDH deck. I'm pretty sure I've rambled on here long enough. Now, like I said, this deck is pretty tight as far as putting other cards in it or taking cards out. There are very, very, very few cards that you could actually take out of this deck to make room for something. Believe me, I've tried. But I'm always looking to make my decks better. If there's a particular card that you think would work better in here on a general sense, now I know like Gorgon Flail or Basilisk Collar would be good in here because of the Goblin Sharpshooter, but that's only one card that's benefiting from it. Believe me, I've tried to put it in. So if there's any cards that you can think of to make this deck better, by all means let me know. I'm always looking to make this EDH deck better. I really like playing it. It's a fun deck. Like I said, it's got a pretty high win percentage. The deck doesn't need the general to function, but it's just another win more card. If the general's in play, then you've got more options, but you don't need the general to win. So yeah, if you can think of any cards that I should put in or I should take out, put them down below. Don't forget to subscribe. I got a couple of decks in the works of decks I'm going to be posting up here. So yeah, So hit like, maybe even toss me a favorite, and we'll see you next time.